Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We are here, and once again, it is our great pleasure to be in your reality. It is our doubly great pleasure to be back here in Sedona, a place where the energies are very strong, they are very seductive, they are very transformative. When you come to Sedona, you come for a dose of changing your life. You come to sit in the frying pan of energy, to walk the lines of time, to feel the vortexes, and to remember. You may ask, what is it that is important for us to remember? It's quite simple. The entirety of who you are. You must remember why you come to Earth, and the purpose of your life, and the collective purpose of being together to create various movements of consciousness. So, you have figured out by now we are the Pleiadians as we speak through this, our vehicle. And we have a deep appreciation for you, for the stalwartness of your energy fields, to take a little battering. By battering, we mean that when you start to expose concepts and ideas that purportedly had truth and veracity, and you start seeing through them as fake and phony and artifice and contrived, some people may say that's depressing. It's not. It's freeing. It's worth a hallelujah. Do you understand? It's true. And so this is a step in consciousness. You know, in the early years of the nano, and again we'll recapitulate, the nano was from 1987 through 2012. It was 25 or so years of a methodical, a planned acceleration of energy. In the early years, when we came in and we started, let's say, melting the sacred cows, busting open ideas, making suggestions about things might not be what you think they are, there were always stalwart humans. You are a strong species, you understand this, and you are so fortified to come here to do this. You all come in with a plan. And you can augment and change that plan and rearrange it. But you do each have certain purposes to achieve. And we respect that. Nevertheless, you are born into, let's say, a paradigm, a belief system. When you are being carried in the womb, that program, the ideas are put into you so that you pop out and you start to believe what's in front of you. You may question here and there. But in general, you are more concerned with that first chakra, the root chakra, the base chakra, that says, who am I and how can I survive in this environment? And of course, all people go through this. This is part of the process of spirit coming into the body and being a human. You have been human many times, and you are other forms of consciousness as well, physical and non-physical. These are some of the things that are important for you to remember. And the reason that we appeal to you to stretch your memories into greater corridors of time is so that you help uplift yourself and humanity, which is the mass agreement of the times. We are not designing your times, we are co-creating with you. We have our purpose in being involved with you, and one could say that that purpose goes back and forward in time. And many of you knew that you would connect with us, or you would connect with a voice, a form, an energy that would help you remind yourself of why you came here and what you are here to do. Now, next weekend it is the spring equinox. And so ideally you will be planting these seeds with your mind. And you will claim your right. And you will assist in restoring to normalcy the concept that humans create their reality with their mind, with their imagination. And since you have done so many outrageously creative things, imagine what you can do if you set your intentions based on consciousness and the flowering of that consciousness to empower all people. Do not think that the forces of shadow and darkness, that they can overcome you, that you are a puny little nothing, and that what can you do compared to these powerful giants and reptiles and global elites and whoever else, Anunnakis and all the ones that you imagine are so big out there. You have consciousness. You are a conscious being. And the timing is such that it is your duty to watch that grow into magnanimous proportions. The clues and the keys that our vehicle shared with you this morning, we advise you to apply them. That is to always be grounded in. Because once you are grounded, you cannot be fried. Do you understand? Why do you think the electrical outlets everywhere and all the electricity that you have is set to ground? Yes? If it's not, it's fry out, they burn out. That's what happens to humans. So, stay grounded. Have a nice strong aura. The stronger your aura, the stronger your protection. And what are you protecting yourself from? From anything that's out there that might want to smack you around a bit and throw energy at you. It's all going to bounce off of you. Your job is to prove to yourself and to set a legacy for humankind of a new way of being, a simple way of being, a way that lifts off the fear, a way that creates a new blessing for a new era. And that is where you are at now. You are helping to build this new era, and we are helping to shape the ideas along with you. So that gives you a general idea of what we want you to know and to start with, and we'll move into questions. There's lots of energy brewing here, and we'll do our very best to give you an answer. We may move on to another question, and we may answer your question further on and mix it in with other answers and other questions. So pay attention, have a good time. Make an intention that you utilize the energy that we are transmitting, and that it brings you vitality, health, it uplifts your energy field, and that you are able to create whatever it is that you want. So, without further ado, we turn it over to you. Who would like to ask the first question? State your name loud and clear.
Please, this is Chet.
Chet, welcome, and thank you for bringing us once again to Sedona.
Our pleasure. This morning, your vehicle talked about the Anunnaki a little bit, and the possibility that in the last century or so they might be surreptitiously returning, physically even, possibly to Earth. And could you fill us in a little more, and do you have any non-physical, intellectual or emotional or other relationships with any of them, like the Enkyites or others that we might think of?
Oh, goodness, this is a wonderful start here. He really cracked the egg open. And as we suggested, that one of the purposes of the acceleration of energy, or the nanosecond era, well, there were many purposes. One of the primary ones was to have you understand that thoughts create reality, which in the larger context, the larger umbrella, was to prepare humankind for meetings of those in the cosmos. That was the purpose of the nano. To wake you up, to get you more in tune, to raise your frequency, because it's one thing to hear about ETs. You understand this? It's another thing to meet them. It's one thing to look at a lion in a picture book. It's a completely different thing to see it in a cage or out in the bush. That's the example. Remember that. So, you are now in the new era, and meeting your cosmic cousins, family, etc., is inevitable. The globalists have been hiding this for a long time. It is true. So yes, it is true that for over 100 years now, we can take it back to let's say, about 1875 or some such, 1850 to 1875, there would have been probes that were sent to Earth. And, or let's say there was a change in studying the probes that were here. The Anunnaki, as you come to understand them, those who came from the heavens down to Earth, or approximate translation, they have had long influence on your planet. And it is the work of Mr. Sitchin and now the work of this author from South Africa that are timely in opening up this understanding of your past, a past that has been hidden by global elitists, and a false past has been presented to you, starting from throughout time. Things have been hidden. Now, over the last 150 years, approximately, you have gone through a radical leap in understanding of technologies. Granted, the Industrial Revolution came about, let's say, less than 250 years ago. And that was tied into a connection to the galactic center. And ideas can be transmitted across the parsecs of space. So there can be probes around the planet and on the planet that the Anunnaki would have left as ways of monitoring you and reading you. Surveillance is not new. It's an old thing. And they could also, or any other beings, can work with you and send ideas across the parsecs of space to seed and plant, let's say, a change in consciousness, a revolution of sorts. So we would say that in the last 100 years and before that, they have been working on that level, sending the ideas. Shortly afterwards, beings began to appear. Look at the history. Look at World War I. What was that about? That was a game of the gods, do you understand? And then followed by World War II, where things were so heinous, and where things were hidden, and then there were the Foo Fighters and the UFOs that were showing up. So you start to have the evidence that there's a presence of beings. Some of these Anunnakis, as you call them, Atlanteans, never left. They migrated to the center of the earth, or into the earth, let us say. Jules Verne knew something, as many of these people knew something, because the information was passed down through time. Now, there's definite, let's say, transference of technology to people on the planet. And what's happened in the 20th century is that people that belonged to elite clubs, secret societies, things of this nature, and there were many of them, they would be privy to some of the information that would indicate these visitors had returned. And these visitors would have shared their technologies or shared pictures of what was coming. This sharing of information from visitors to members of secret societies really began to kick off the science fiction era. All right? Without naming names and who is who, some of the big names started molding and shaping the energy based on what they were shown by visiting ETs, Anunnakis, as you would say to them, and others. And do we have connection with these? Yes, all the ETs have connections. They all have connections. And the Anunnakis are not who you think they are. There's been a bit of a spin on some of the story, but that is all right. Things all come out in the wash in the end. So, technologies are given to you to step up your progress based on your industrial revolution. And they are a way to monitor and control the planet. There are no human counterparts who are interested or are capable of viewing all of the surveillance data. Do you understand? There's nothing but a computer that can run all that data and ask the proper questions to understand where the consciousness of the people are. And so we would say that the devices that have infiltrated your society, they are monitoring devices that the end result is utilized by visitors, not by humans. They are part of psychological experimentation. They are part of monitoring where you are and who you are by some beings who do operate with machines. Now there are some visitors who do not operate with machines. They operate by energy. But even in the old stories of the Anunnakis, they fought over devices. They fought over their crystalline devices. And so it's a mix of frequency and technology. Who else has a question, please?
This is Janet.
Janet, welcome.
We recently passed the nanosecond.
Yes, the nano's over.
Yes. And so now we're moving into another phase.
We call this the new era.
All right. I would appreciate the comments on the opportunity that the new era represents for our development of human consciousness, and specifically how we can evolve during the process of weather wars and wars here in the United States, things that we will specifically move through in the next couple, 3 years.
Yes.
And what this era represents, if you could.
So the new era is predicated on, in your version that you are in, a flowering of consciousness. And let's say the new era began right after the nano ended. So December 22nd, you are in the new era. Let's see, do the math. Is that 3 months? You're 3 months into the new era. So settle down and recognize it's going to take a while to shape itself. Nonetheless, what is it going to be about? It's going to be about basically a clash between the technology of the mind and consciousness and the ability of people to, not in a military fashion. The military is very interested in developing human psychic warriors, to have you to be able to move objects with your mind and this kind of thing. Oh, there's lots of organizations that train young children to attempt to do this, and they're looking for those who have these rare talents. But as adults, you will see that this development of the mind over a dependence upon technology. That technology, this is what's going to be weighed out in the next number of years. And of course the technology is growing ever more lethal in its usage, how it's being applied. And so too, understand that as this technology develops, so too are the inner technologies developing in various people. You have not reached critical mass. Critical mass is basically when a certain number of beings operate at a certain frequency, or a certain number of people have built a thought form, and the thought form has so much energy it transmits the idea, and then suddenly people, it's in the air, they get it, and then they have it. So these next number of years, from 2013 to 2026, 27, we call that the changeover time. And the next, from 2013 to 2017, is going to be very, very intense. These are the real deceleration, slowdown. There's going to be big stuff economically, and you are in the window of possible Earth changes during this particular time because of the Uranus-Pluto squares our vehicle was drawing out for you. You have this radical element, and you have this very solid Earth element, and they are fire and Earth, and they're going to create a dynamic there. So you have potential for volcanic release, earth changes release. These are high in now through 2017. How do you deal with all this? How do you deal with weather wars, weather control, Earth naturally releasing, the astrological influences dismantling everything? You do everything our vehicle has taught you this morning and what we are encouraging you to do. You ground yourself. You strengthen your auric field. You use the chakras to bring energy in and out. You use intentions. And you do it more and more consciously throughout the day. It's not something you just do once in a while. It's not something that you hear about on the weekends. It becomes your mode of operation. You begin to operate on a bunch of different levels. that is what the new era will require to anchor it in. The change over years will be, again, the first 5 very, very intense. Then from 2017 to 2027, about 2026, 10 years or so, 2018 to 2027, about 10 years there. So there's that phase. And that phase will be a re-examining of what consciousness is and who has consciousness, and really sort of in the United States rewriting a declaration of independence, and then working on what would be called a new constitution for humanity. Granted, your papers, your democracies, all these things, they are noble, but you are dealing with forces that are using machines to take you over, to wipe out democracy, to create a belittling of you, a limiting of you. Don't fight the system, and you can't argue with entities. It does you no good. But what does do you good is you have the power. You have the choice of how you feel and how you think, and no one can take your imagination away from you unless they tie you to a television. Do you understand? And they force you to look at pictures. And they force your eyeballs open with toothpicks. That's what they do in psychic driving. And so all of this will assist in, this is what you must do. You must utilize your physical body, each of you. And you must come to the understanding and accept yourself for what and who you are, and know that your loving acceptance of yourself makes yourself fertilize and grow. And so you can't look to someone else to say, oh, you are so great, come on, come on. Support and encouragement are wonderful. But part of the way the body works and what clicks the body on is that if you as a spirit love the body that you have created, and that you work with that body on an energetic level to bring it to its highest frequency. This is your path, this is your destiny, this is your inevitable challenge, and this is the legacy of the new era. And the machines, the toxicities, the more people wake up, the more psychic they get. You will have to deal with these beings and diminish them. You will not destroy them. Higher consciousness understands that these are lost beings, and they are lost from the truth, but they push you to awaken to the truth because of their shadow that wants to overtake you. So without them, you'd be lazy. Do you understand this? In the end, you will thank them, because it is part of the dynamic force of the multiverse. And if you forget everything else, remember this: you are powerful beings in the multiverse. Its prime quality is goodness. Who else has a question, please?
I'm Carla. Carla.
Carla. Welcome, Carla. Speak loud and clear.
Thank you. Could you address the subject of heaven as we have been taught here on earth, what it is?
Heaven?
Heaven.
Heaven. What a good question.
The question is, what is real? Where do we go? Do we go to individual dimensions or energies or places?
When you are deceased, you're talking about.
I'm sorry?
When you are deceased, you mean?
Yes.
All right.
When we leave here.
So we said, what a good question, because it ties back to the Anunnaki again. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, the Anunnaki, they parked themselves in what we call celestial palaces. We believe we've talked about this in our channelings in the early 90s, how visitors had these palaces in the heavens, in the sky, and that they lived up there. And sometimes they lived under the waters on earth, sometimes they lived inside of mountains, on top of mountains. They did not live among you, they walked among the people, they walked among their genetic experiments, but they lived other places. So the myth began long, long ago that to get to heaven would be the ultimate goal. This morning our vehicle was giving you a few biblical questions. Do you remember that? And it was Bruce, we believe, who had told the story of who Enoch was, that he walked with God, he was translated and taken up. And that was the desire of Gilgamesh. If you remember Gilgamesh is one of the progenies of the Anunnakis, and Gilgamesh and his buddy genetic experiment Enkidu. Gilgamesh was part sky blood and part earth blood. By skybud, we mean the Anunnakis of old mated with or put their DNA in an indigenous human form that had already been around and been through all kinds of things. So Gilgamesh had a fanatical desire to get to heaven, and felt that because he had the blood of the Anunnaki, that he was entitled to get up there. And it was a goal of beings because they understood that if they could get to heaven, where the Anunnaki's celestial palaces or spaceships were, or motherships, then they would be granted immortality. Because the gods lived so much longer than the humans, and again the humans were tweaked to live a certain way, to produce, to be a certain vibration. The story, as it's researched, is saying, well, the Anunnaki, they made you slaves so that you would dig in the ground. Well, they don't want you just for digging in the ground. They feed off of the energy that you exude. That's also very, very important to understand. So, does that give you a little insight?
Mm-hmm.
Would you want to ask more?
What about God? Is it a single intelligence or entity? I know there are many.
God would be each person's projection, and anyone with any common sense would recognize that each religion claiming to have superiority and to have the line, the only telephone line to God, is complete foolishness. Many of the visiting ETs set up religions for you across the lines of times, through telepathy, through all kinds of soul planning, as a way of managing the planet. One could say that the religions sort of serve as custodial structures. They give you rules and regulations. They sort of manage your energy, yet keep you limited. They keep you from getting to heaven. But they keep heaven as an enticement, as an idea. So where do you go when you die? That's your question also. You go into, let's say, what we call islands of beliefs. You go into various dimensions or frequencies of reality. Our vehicle explained to you, if you are afraid of dying and you don't go towards, you're not met by beings that you love, then you can get really lost. Fear. If you die in fear, if you die in great suddenness, or if you die in great tragedy, it can totally traumatize the soul. So the soul is mixed up and doesn't know where to go. Now, beings that love you will always attempt to come and find you. That is a natural flow of the multiverse. And so you may say, well, who loves me? It may be beings that you don't know and have never known physically. But you are all loved by someone, by many someones. And so beings can come and attempt to, say, help beings who survive, the lost souls who were wandering New York City after 9/11. And they may want to get through to them, but the soul is so traumatized, it sees nothing, it hears nothing. It's lost. Do you understand? It's lost. Then there's people on the ground who will come often, people like you, humans, who will go to the sites of concentration camps, who will go to battlefields, who will go to the sites of car wrecks and plane wrecks and put crystals down. And with their understanding in their heart, they will pray. And they will make a holy space or a higher vibration space, so that the people will be drawn to the love of the higher vibration space. And then what happens technically, once they get into the higher vibrational love of space, because they're realizing someone cares, then other beings can come and help lift them out. It's not easy to die. You have to know where you're going. You have to have a plan. And you want to aim for meeting up with those who know the ropes on the other side, who are clear and clean and who really love you. That's what you want to have meet you. And those are the beings that will meet you if you set it up that way. You do not lose who you are when you die. And we ask you, please, we assure you, we want to comfort you and to say to you, right now, make a decision in this moment that you have nothing to fear when you die. We would like you, in the privacy of your own agreement, to say, when it's my time to go, I will go fearlessly into the long good night, and I will go into a great new reality, knowing that loved ones wait me and a new adventure is at hand. Do not fear dying. It is important to have an exit plan. You may be years and years and years from your exit, years and years away, which, what the heck, a little bit of imagining can go a long way. And the globalists, like to the non-physicals, they want to control the death portal. They want you in fear. They want you confused when you die. They want to recycle souls. They want souls to get possessed and all this thing. They want to get you to play in certain religious games and things of this nature. Not right now, but at some point in the next few days, before the spring equinox, there's your homework assignment time. We would like you to make an agreement with reality about your death. And that can be as simple as how and where you are going to die. It can be an agreement to say, higher self and my oversoul. When it is my time to terminate my experience in reality of this physical body, I want to leave graciously, effortlessly. I want no pain, no muss, no fuss. I want the easiest of exit plans, or whatever you want. And then by putting this picture out there, you are already conditioning the space for how you're going to exit. Do you know how many people are afraid of dying? And so then they get sick, because being afraid of dying makes them sick. And they spend years sick, dreading the death portal as they go from hospital to nursing home to greater and greater degradation of vitality. It all comes from dread of leaving the physical body. There's the non-physical is an absolute separate reality. You will, because of your investment in this lifetime, bring your consciousness with you. That's what you want to do. Carry everything you've got. They say you can't take it with you. Well, maybe not the material stuff, but everything you learned goes with you. You follow? Yes? Do you follow?
Yes.
Good. Between now and the spring equinox, make an agreement. And then it's like writing a will, and then put it away. Every once in a while, know that when your time comes, it's going to be good. And forget about it. All right. That's big, you know. What we just asked you to do is very big. It is a plan that people will say, write a will, write this, write that. What good is it going to do you? What you want to do is to get out and be good about getting out, and get out clean and happy. And leave everybody else clean and happy too. That's victory. That's the big victory. It will all happen, believe us. All right, let's do questions now. We've given you more things to think of, and we'll do our best to cover your questions, because you are asking very appropriate and good things. So we'll go back to Janet now, since she had the last question. Did we give you what you want, Janet?
Yes, to a large degree.
And so do you have any other questions to follow through on what you are asking?
Only if you want to comment on the Pluto-Uranus squares and their specific outcomes in the United States.
So the Pluto-Uranus squares and their outcomes for the United States. So you've had two last year, June and September in 2012. You have two this year, one in May and one in November 1st. And then next year, the big one for the United States, what did we say, April of 2014. What will they do? Certainly, you're going to have big financial shakeup. This is going to affect the entire globe, and everyone is going to decelerate a bit more. Everyone's going to get more simpler, more practical. There's going to be less money. There's going to be more innovation. There's going to be less waste. There's going to be more creativity. There's going to be less stuff on the shelves, but more stuff to eat in greater proliferation of health, vitality, and deliciousness. You are moving back to a simpler time. The energy that propelled you in the nanosecond is unsustainable. It's completely unsustainable. It was necessary, the speed up, to create a short period of time where consciousness had to push itself to evolve very, very quickly, to become much more aware. That victory is set. Now you will ride those energies, you will fine-tune them, you will develop them. And as more and more people become spontaneously awakened, Uranus, Pluto will awaken people to new talents and abilities to build Pluto new structures. At first, these may seem to be just gifts that come through the ether. You will call them gifted and talented people. Part of what you on Earth as a people are being initiated into, you are in the sort of after time of the nanosecond. It's a bit of a relief that the nano years are over, 1987 through 2012. It was like wearing a corset, a tight girdle, you understand? It kept getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And now you can go, ah, yes. This is the energy. But it does not mean the mess is cleaned up. There's still work to do. However, those of you to whom we speak and those who do not even hear us yet, they are in on it. You are going to a new level. And you must implement and demonstrate continuously all that you have learned. And not put it on a shelf and look at it or open it up in a book. It must be completely integrated into part of your life, innovated into new ideas every day of how to communicate with the fields of existence. Clever discourses or designing of blueprints to send out the message of what you want. So, you are entering some of the things you will see in the new era. A rapid increase in some people in intelligence, across-the-board development within all people in the new era of greater psychic intuition, insight, instincts, knowing. Those of you who already have good psychic abilities, they will double, triple, quadruple relatively quickly in the next 5 years. You will see a sense of more divide. And beings having to argue over, let's say, what is a brilliant idea and what is a foolish idea. And so there will be greater polarities for a while. And it is because some people are very afraid to innovate new ideas. And it is because some new ideas are way too far out. And so those who will hold back are better. You are in the period of sorting, a huge sorting. And so it will shuffle things around for a while. Yesterday we mentioned the rise of the healers, that many, many more people will find that they are guided to techniques or abilities will develop, they will learn new skills, and the systems that they work with will work with them to help people heal. Again, the plant kingdom as food, as medicine, as beauty, it is essential that you focus on it because it is in the plant kingdom's DNA. It is triggered to come into a higher, much higher vibration when you communicate with it. You with us?
Yes.
This is encoded in the plant DNA, and it is sort of quiet because not enough people say hello, and it's more than just hello. You are going to eventually start talking to your seeds, your trees, your plants, and you are going to let them know what is needed. They are going to become good friends. They are going to provide you with things that you can't imagine. This is part of the new intelligence. It does not happen on the internet. It happens on the inner net. And this will be part of the Great Divide. We are not suggesting that you must abdicate all of machine writing type of activity. Machine writing has been around for a long time. There's been people who have had their lawnmowers and their harvesters and things of this nature. Today people ride the machines, they can't let them out of the hands. That is what we call a machine rider, too dependent on experiencing reality only through the machine. And this will lead, in some realities, to some big problems. Many of the machine riders will be drawn more and more to the urban areas, and this unfortunately will be where the smart meters are. There's not going to be too many opting out of smart meters in the big cities. You can opt out, but you're surrounded by everyone else in it. And the cities will be used in some probabilities as a bartering point for jobs. There will be those who, as you develop greater sensitivities, you will pick things up, you will know things, you will feel things. To some extent, there are people who are hypersensitive to the electromagnetic radiation, the electromagnetic frequencies. Foods will help you ground this in. Always drop your grounding cord down. Earth will help you ground it in, because earth will keep you entrained with its rhythm of stability. You will be meeting and attracting people that have made it through the nano, that are clear and that are prepared to build communities and contribute ideas to new levels of society. There will be areas, you were talking yesterday about Detroit, and then someone was mentioning Utica, New York, our vehicles, old hometown territory, problematic areas where more control may be exercised. So you are going to see the United States like Swiss cheese, holes in certain areas. And speaking of holes, sinkholes will be a greater and greater issue. And we would give big red flags about Florida, Louisiana, even West Texas, East Texas area, or the whole Gulf area is, all those states surrounding it. But these sinkholes can pop up anywhere. They can pop up inland. Earth is shifting. Earth feels how the people think. When you have thoughts, you think no one can know my thoughts. The field knows your thoughts, and Earth feels your thoughts, and all people feel your thoughts. Thoughts have energy, and thoughts have effect. And what you want to do with your thoughts is up to you. But remember, thoughts are the building blocks of the new era. And so dare to build, dare to dream. And you don't have to know how it will all come down. But you certainly do have to structure and create. And this is what makes life worth living. So, we just give you some ideas to incorporate. Remember, nature supports you. Communicate with it. And the results will be astounding to you. Who has a question?
Patty.
Patty, welcome.
When will our species be allowed to develop and release into the marketplace free energy devices that can relieve some of the suffering and the problems in third world countries and in ours in terms of accessing water, transportation and other things?
All right. You're Patty?
Yes.
All right. So, were you here yesterday?
No, ma'am.
All right. Well, we're not necessarily man, but that's fine. That's it. We're having fun with you. So, what we were saying is that yesterday our vehicle was drawing out some astrological aspects. And you are 2 years into a period of super high innovation and creativity. You have 5 more years to go. And what you will see during these next 5 years is some radical, bizarre, creepy, weird things. But you will also see the rise of what we would call the garage mechanics, the backyard tinkerers. They've been waiting for this. So there's a lot of regular people who perhaps they understand business, they understand electronics, whatever. they are coming up with the ideas. They are being given the ideas. The good forces are delivering ideas to you so that you wake up and you say, you know, I saw the whole blueprint. Here it is. That's obviously sent to you. So you are seeing this. The problem is, you said, when will they allow us, when will be allowed? The money invested in fossil fuels and natural gases and coal and these sorts of ways to produce energy, even solar and wind, they do not want to lose this grip. Sort of solar and wind is an acquiescence. It is not free energy. Do you follow this? Solar panels are very expensive. You have batteries. The wind, as brilliant as the idea sounds, you know how many birds it is killing. The wind vessels are killing more birds than the cats kill, and the cats kill a lot of birds every year. You lose the birds, and you lose your world. You understand? That expression, the bees and the birds, is not just some made-up double bees. It's important. The birds awaken nature. The bird song actually holds nature in stability. Birds all over the world are integral to the program of nature, just like the whales are integral to the program of nature in the element of water. You follow this? So, how will this occur? You are not going to see for a while something that's announced that all people can have. Although there are innovations that are being developed so simple to help people in third worlds to be able to have cleaner water, to keep their food cool, primitive but very simple ways. And so what we want you to understand is that some of the discoveries and implementations that will be brought to you are not going to be super high tech. Those will be for the machine writers in the cities. The more rural areas will adapt through simplicity, through very simple ways of dealing with reality. So it's coming. It's coming. It's not here yet. We would speculate to say when the new era really begins, it has its new foothold in 2028. More than likely, that's when things of this nature will really start to come forward. The 15 years from now until that point are the changeover years, or the time when you must figure out who's a crook and who's not. You must get rid of the systems that don't work for you. And so it's a time of cleaning up, getting rid of, and figuring out what must be innovated. And some of the innovations will be more temporary. And then it will be a whole new constitution of understanding world reality. And in these 15 years, we see that this is when you will meet the ETs, or that they will start to become more prevalent. And whether it is an announcement from governmental officials, or whether it is so many people having experiences that they cannot be denied, or so many sightings. The sightings, you can't tell who the sightings are, because you have beings on your world that have huge, huge fleets of crafts. And if they wanted to, military forces of your own 3D reality, they could stage a phony invasion. And they would augment a phony invasion with technologies that they have that have the ability to do holographic projections into the heavens. And some of this is what your visiting gods have done as well. They have created holographic projections and made alterations, and then the people go, oh, it must be God, it must be God, oh, and then they send frequencies at you. I am feeling it, I am in the vibration of God. Let me tell you something. You're not chuckling. We don't hear any chuckling. That means if you can't laugh, you've been fleeced by it. Because these beings can send frequencies at you that can make you think God is talking to you, that can make you have ecstatic experiences. And this is how they have manipulated you in many ways. And so you have to see through this. We are not judging it. We are simply saying that your governmental structures, your religious structures, your ideas and your beliefs about reality, they are the Truman Show. Yes? And that's all right. That's all right. Think about it. That you're living in a time that you have the freedom to explore these ideas. That no one is looking for you right now. No one is going to gun you down or arrest you or burn you at the stake for saying heretical ideas. You understand? It's very free. You have the freedom to travel. You have the freedom to eat what you want. There's food everywhere. You have the freedom to earn money. Oh, we know you think you pay a lot in taxes and this, but you have more freedoms than you realize. And let's say that it got so free that that's why the clamps, the surveillance, the taking away of your monies, tracking your money, tracking your credit, cell phones watching you, drones watching you, that's all part of a program that says we went too far. People are figuring too many things out. They are too free. Well, let's say it's not going to contain you for very long. So there will be things that will come about, Patty, and perhaps you'll be fortunate enough to know one of those backyard inventors, and perhaps they will be able to wire your house up first. How's that? Put it out there. Put it out there. Dare to create the new era, and with ideas. Ideas shape reality, and we are here to help you shape the new era. It's part of our duty. Who has a question?
Peace. This is William.
William, welcome.
In this time period, what do you see with the world's population? Do you see a mass depopulation?
Yes, you are in depopulation. You have been now for a few years. Actually, it was in 2011, we believe, that you, right at Halloween in 2011 or some such, the bean counters suggested that you reach 7 billion people. However, you are in depopulation. First of all, the environmental stresses and toxins have made it very, very difficult for people in what you would call a faster pace of reality, a faster society. They cannot get pregnant. So what used to be something that was completely for free, people are now paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to get pregnant and have a baby. That in itself says you've gone too far. And there's all these businesses that open up, you can't even count them, that will help you do this, that will take your hundreds of thousands of dollars, that will do all these tests on your genetical, genital organs, your scorpionic organs, and play with them and poke and prod to help you do something that has always been for free. Your cultural studiers recognize that as society becomes more sophisticated, it is more difficult to get pregnant. And then there's all the young people in the Western world, here in the USA, who are dealing with student loan debt. They have taken on debts that many people took on to build a house or to build a family for a lifetime. These kids are getting out of school and they owe, some of them, a minimum of $25,000 up to a few $100,000. And guess what? They're studying potholder making and they get out, they can't get a job. Well, what the heck is wrong with the system? You follow this? Yeah. Because the colleges started wanting to, well, they're coming in, they want to pay, let's just offer them courses in anything. So there's a big rip-off in the educational system. No matter where you look, it's not working. Yet look behind what's not working and you will see under the detritus there are new shoots coming up and people are saying, to heck with that, we're going to make something that's going to work. You understand that?
Yeah.
That's what you are in. That's what you are involved in. Questions? Oh, back to William there.
I just meant, I know that there's been a depopulation, but my question was, will there be an incident or something that will cause more of a rapid decline? Like I know the ruling elites plan their seminars, and one of them a few years ago with Oprah Winfrey and Bill Gates was to, how do we depopulate half the world's population in a short, I'm talking like a short burst of time.
Yes. All right. So let's say this. It was in the 1960s that people of this nature, not necessarily Bill Gates and whoever, but people who study these things, globalists, recognized that as the population was growing, and it was growing in the 60s, that as it kept growing, and as food production was watched, it would cross, and there would come a point where there would not be enough food to match the growing populations. You have reached this. You reached this a few years ago. And the global elites are leveraging the price of wheat, the price of, again, wheat and rice and these things were brought by the gods here to help develop society so that they could feed the beings that they were cultivating in the living library. Now, this food is genetically altered. Some of it is not good for you. So many people have developed wheat allergies. They cannot eat the food of the gods anymore. Very fascinating. And so, is there potentiality? Yes, they've planned this for a long time. Their plan was that they had to get rid of, some say 2/3, some say 4/5. They want it down to maxi billion on the planet. That means 6 have to go. What we've been saying for a while is that once the nano's over, lots of people are going to leave. The nano, in order for it to be successful, it needed a lot of people on the planet. And the people came, and people procreated, and they came, and they came, and they came. It's over now. It's going to be much more difficult to survive on Earth. Just on a practical level, social programs are going to disappear. They'll winnow here and there, but they'll disappear. And so people who do not have their wits about them in terms of producing legitimate types of creativity and work are going to find it hard to live. So they won't live as long. So you are in a die-off period now. Lots of people are very sick. Lots of people are dying and in the process of dying. This is what the healthcare system is dealing with. And then you have the question, will the globalists plan some sort of rapid depopulation? They've attempted it with various genetic strains of diseases. They would love to create some sort of wipeout. They and the gods do not want to do planetary destruction. It's too much work to put it back together. Do you follow? You follow this? Yes. And if too much planetary destruction took place, then you'd have to vacate for a while. So they don't want that. They really don't want it. That's why many nuclear plans have been stopped. And there are good ETs who have, let's say, changed the alarm clock on many of these, or shifted the reality on many potential atomic detonations. You've skirted a lot of them. So they have plans, yes. Will they pull them off? We'll see. Are people leaving? Yes. By 2028, we imagine that even if the global elite do not do big things to depopulate the planet and really wipe it, you're going to lose, even in the next 15 years, a few billion people less, even naturally. You follow? Because they can't reproduce anymore. The young people that graduate from college, they're not thinking about family. They haven't even figured out yet. Now that they're out of school, they're finally recognizing, oh, I owe $30,000. Wow, how do I pay that back at $500 or $300 at a pop? And how long will that take me? The rest of my life? I don't want to have kids. How can I ever have kids have a house? So already it's occurring. Plus, you are all very psychic whether you know it or not. All people around the globe. And many people are sensing that it's going to be much more difficult in the future to have a family and raise a family, unless you are part of a strong community that vibrates in that capacity, say like Amish, Mennonite, something of this nature. Who else has a question?
Gary?
Gary, yes.
Is there any other guidance that you might have for the new era time frame that hasn't been talked about this weekend?
To trust yourself can be risky, because you're not always going to make the right decisions. And yet, if you don't trust yourself, it's not a safe place to be. And so to put the trust in being guided to make the right decisions in the right place at the right time, and to offer thanks, and to ask the higher self, the oversoul, and all the guides and beings that work with you to be with you and to help you make the best decisions. That will help you build a very healthy and strong version of the new era. Believe in yourselves and remember, thoughts create, and so create the very best. It's been our great pleasure. Good evening.